I'm Matt.
I'm Shane.
And if you like what you hear, make sure you hit that thumbs up button real hard, and make sure you subscribe to Comic Movie Marks.
And also click that little bell for all of the notifications.
Whee!
Always remember,
If Trailer Trash can do it,
anyone can do it.
Well, you definitely fight for your visions, and that's definitely inspiring to artists who want to get out there, definitely. So, hopefully that tradition continues on in the future, if you know what I mean. So,
I hope so too.
Yeah.
yes, that was me that yelled. Hello and welcome everyone to another Comic Movie Marks video.
We're doing a quick little recap of our beautiful trip to Pasadena, California, where we went to the SnyderCon.
We met a lot of cool people down there, people that actually knew who the fuck we were, which I was surprised because we're rarely on camera, and also who the fuck gives a shit about these guys. But immediately when we got out of the car, we were recognized by a guy named Ben, who we frequently saw at this event, and thank you, Ben, for making us feel special inside. And also for putting up with my rant for that 2-hour line wait that we had when I was fucking raging out about the terrible questions we got during the Batman versus Superman Q&A. You stood there through it all.
Ben was right in front of us in line and listened to everything that we had to say as we were getting delusional. It, started getting later and later at night, but he put up with it all. So mad props to him. Appreciate it. And thanks really to, as Matt said, to everybody. We had such a blast. Both of us did, in terms of everyone that we met and just kind of the energy around everything. We finally got to meet some of our loyal OG followers, and Justin, who's DJN on YouTube. We met Abdul finally. We met McD from Twitter, a guy named Dexter, who was shocked that I remembered his name. I'm like, how do you forget a name like Dexter? And obviously we also were able to meet Chris Wong and David Pena. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Film Junkie.
Just say Dave the Film Junkie.
Dave Film Junkie. We finally met those two in person, got to hang out. We went to Zack Snyder's favorite coffee shop in Pasadena, hoping to see him, but he was not there. But it was still pretty cool. Got to hang out with them. And really, again, just thank you to everyone who was so welcoming and just brought a whole lot of energy to the whole environment and the whole experience.
There was people tapping me on the shoulder saying that they really enjoyed our show. I was just flabbergasted by that. It was really nice to hear. And you guys might be disappointed now, because now you got a face really to these voices, and you're probably gonna just be like, I just can't listen to these fucks no more. Especially that Ben guy. He's like, I heard enough.
Yeah, after all of that.
Again, thank you guys. That was fantastic. Definitely surreal. Very surreal.
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
We already did some live streams when this event happened, so we won't really go in too much detail. Just want to talk about some of the cool things that did happen when we did the Watchmen one. There was something a little additional that was very interesting. Snyder actually talked about how after the movie was filmed, Fox almost had a hold on the movie because they were also part of, at one point, in this development hell with Watchmen. They built sets and this stuff, and somehow, in some way, they were kind of like entitled to something, and they actually put a cease and desist on it, and Watchmen may have never been released because of Fox. And as Snyder put, you might have actually seen a movie that never has been released for the first time tonight.
What?
SnyderCon confirmed.
Yeah, that was the first of a couple nice little trolling comments, I'm going to say. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but it was hilarious. Got a nice pop from the crowd. I think he mentioned that Fox had estimated to spend about $20 million or something along those lines on the Watchmen movie. I think he was just kind of ballparking, but basically spent a significant amount of money on Watchmen to try to get it made.
Then he also went on his rant, his tirade, that a lot of bloggers and blue check marks, as I call them, have been just crying their little hearts out and not even able to understand what the fuck they're talking about, per usual. He definitely threw some gasoline on that fire. That thing was kind of dying out a little bit, and boy, did he say, hold my beer, and just grabbed some premium, actually racing fuel, and just threw it on there. And boy, did a lot of people now getting a bunch of clicks. He did them a favor, you know, put some bread on their table so they can misquote him and misunderstand everything he said in their terrible titles for their articles. Wake the fuck up. You're living in a fucking dream world. It's been taken so much out of context, and I'm sure he knew it was going to happen. We all know it's going to happen at this point. I mean, it's not a shocker. It's no point to argue with these people, really. But the point really was that after doing Watchmen, which is a satire on the kind of the comic book genre at the time, the comic book movie that he did, Watchmen, was kind of a satire on comic book movies. And after that movie, I mean, what's next for you? Are you really going to go to a Superman Returns? You're going to have a more extreme outlook on superheroes. You just did a movie where it's a full satire on the genre itself. So he took things to a different level. He even says at one point, if there's a code or if there's a rule in the canon and the comic canon for the character, the first thing he wants to do is, hey, let's test that rule. Let's push the envelope a little bit. That's the first thing he wants to embrace and look at with the character. So that's just how he is as a director. A lot of people don't seem to get that.
If you guys get a chance, there is a great article from Hypeable.com. It's written by, I'm probably going to butcher this, Eleni Cypher. We'll try to link it in the description below, and it's titled, "No, Zack Snyder does not think killing makes Batman cool or heroic." And she basically goes through this awesome rant, I guess, sort of, in the article, describing exactly where a lot of the blue check markers took that quote and ran with it, and what Zack Snyder actually meant. And some of the stuff, as Matt was saying, one of his quotes is, "Watchmen is the end of innocence for superheroes. Superheroes are raping each other, for God's sake. They are murdering millions of people to create world peace. So when someone says to me, oh, Batman killed a guy, I'm like, pfft, like, wake the fuck up. I guess that's what I'm saying. Once you've lost your virginity to Watchmen, and then you come and say to me, like, my superhero wouldn't do that, I'm like, are you serious? I'm down the fucking road." He's saying exactly what Matt had talked about, that he's already has approached a superhero genre film with tearing these superheroes down. It's essentially a satire type comic book, and you're not supposed to like the comedian. You're not supposed to think that the comedian's a badass and that's who you want to be. And even someone as cool as Rorschach, who is probably the favorite character, he does some questionable things, you know, hacking up some dogs and a human being. So most of these characters are not supposed to be relatable. So what he tries to do with Batman is push him to be borderline the villain of Batman v Superman, where you're not supposed to relate to him. You're supposed to go, what the fuck is this guy doing? To where then he can be redeemed and redeem himself.
Just like in Watchmen, when Rorschach talks about his actual name, Walter Koufax. Walter Koufax died that night when he found that guy that kidnapped that girl. Just like after 20 years in Gotham, no one stays good. Criminals are like weeds. Bruce Wayne is dead. And now it's Batman. This rule, even though it's a very mainstream rule, and Batman has killed several times in the comics, but if you want to call it the mainstream rule, the animated series rule, the Christian Bale rule, the Nolanverse rule, if you want to go by that standard, a Batman going against this code, showing you how far he has gone. This is the point. If you believe he still has that code, well, look what he's doing now. That's how fucked up 20 years in Gotham has made him. That's the point. You're supposed to be like, holy shit, look what's happened to him.
One of the things that I liked about this character was that he was kind of a fighter in the 12th round. You know, that he was a guy at the, you know, maybe a little bit waiting for to be saved by the bell, and that he had been through the ringer. And usually when we see these heroes, they're in their origins, discovering their powers, you know, just taking on the world. They're typically, you know, in their 20s, and they're just starting out. And so it's an interesting thing to start almost at the end of a career, you know, and look back, and the audience has seen my character's backstory, in effect, because they've seen all these movies and they know what Batman's kind of done during all this time.
Even when Alfred says new rules, it's all spelled out for you. New rules when men go cruel. It's basically illustrated through the whole movie. And it's Superman's humanity that turns him around. The fact that this alien, this all-powerful being has a mother. That's what turns him around. It's a very simple concept. If you don't understand Watchmen, you're not going to understand Batman vs. Superman.
Zack Snyder also pushes the envelope a little bit in terms of Superman as well, and that's what we see in Man of Steel, where he has to break Zod's neck. There's rules that are laid out in the comic books of Superman doesn't kill. Zack Snyder is basically showing why. Why does he have that rule? Well, I'm going to show you why. Because he was pushed to the absolute limit and unfortunately had to kill. And you could see in Man of Steel where he just hates the fact that he had to do that. And I'm sure it would have come full circle had we gotten the entire trilogy or whatever it was supposed to be, the entire 5-movie arc from Zack Snyder.
If we would have gotten that full arc, we know almost for a fact that there was a redemption story for Bruce Wayne, for Batman. But ultimately, as we find out in the Batman vs. Superman screening, that all changed. But first, let's talk about these awesome fucking questions that we got. Now, I was sitting there, I was trying to get my question answered, raising my hand. I see a lot of people talking about these were set up, they were planned. I don't know about that. I know in the Watchmen one, they weren't. I saw several people get the mic that are not part of the school. They're just fans of ours and every Film Junkie and Chris Wong. They're just regular Joes and stuff. They were getting the mic in Watchmen. But in the Batman versus Superman one, I don't know if it was the students that were favored, because that's what I kind of feel like. A lot of the students were favored in this case. And there was some other individuals that just had different agendas. But then we got this awesome things like a guy screaming, what about the Wonder Woman theme?
What?
Favorite Spider-Man movie?
What?
And finally, high school jerseys. I lost my shit. I was steaming in line. I couldn't even enjoy the fun fact that we did get. It's an interesting thing what he said. We got a little bit more tidbits about it. It's basically stuff that he's been saying on Vero for a while. The additional thing we got was Darkseid killing Lois.
Yeah, so that was the bombshell that Zack Snyder dropped on everyone, and you can see if you watch the clip from Vero, it's on YouTube, it's on Instagram, it's on Twitter. You can find it pretty much anywhere now. And the entire audience, there was a guy who was down the way from us, and I think he was one row behind us, and he stands up out of his seat like, are you fucking kidding me? Like that was the initial plan. Darkseid boom tubing all the way to the Batcave to kill a pregnant Lois. And it just shows you the type of detail that Snyder was trying to bring to this universe. To clarify something as well, there's a lot of, I think, misconception about that specific scene. I don't know if that scene was ever shot. I don't think it was. I think
No, this was all plans. I don't understand where some people get it. As he said, the original Justice League script that he wrote with Chris Terrio was done before Batman versus Superman came out.
Right.
And that was going to lead into all this. That's what was going to lead on all this. Then he had to revise it because of the studio.
And when you start getting into the details, some of the things that he was talking about with the time travel and the different doors that Flash was trying to go into, and obviously he goes to the wrong door, and that's when he shows up in the Batcave too soon. I'm too soon, and and then he's frustrated with himself. That's when all that stuff was supposed to tie in, and you can kind of see where Warner Brothers already was starting to get cold feet, because the script that he was writing, that is for comic book fans. He was essentially writing a comic book, something that's way out there, where part of the movie is supposed to be on Apocalypse, and then that you have Darkseid and boom tubing and a lot of death. You talk about Lois Lane dying, Superman dies, obviously, in Batman v Superman. Potentially Batman down the road was going to die. There's time travel. There's Steppenwolf who dies. There's so much stuff that's going on here. And that's where then Zack Snyder had to rewrite it with Chris Terrio as well, to rewrite the script that they eventually started moving forward with for Justice League. Then they filmed those scenes, and then that's what ended up getting butchered and reshot by Joss Whedon. So there's a couple different versions here, and I don't think we ever would have gotten the Darkseid Lois Lane scene.
After Batman versus Superman, no. I don't think we would have ever gotten there. I mean, unless Justice League did really well, and he could somehow redirect it back into that, his version of Justice League. But I don't think we would have ever gotten back into that. I don't think so. Not because of the reaction. I just don't think it's possible. Stephen Colbert on Twitter here had a great thing where he said, well, it's very clear today who has and hasn't been paying attention to Justice League news over the past 3 years. Snyder fans and non-fans alike, if you're going to have a hot take, do your homework. And it's just fascinating because I think a lot of people kind of understood that they had to rewrite a lot of the script for Justice League because Justice League 2 kind of disappeared. So obviously it's not a continuing trilogy of Batman versus Superman, Justice League, and Justice League 2. I always suspected that he had to do some major rewrites, add humor, because I'm sure that was one of the things, more levity. There's just various different things that he probably would have had to change. There's this video going around where this fan, during the meet and greet that we got at the end of the Batman versus Superman Q&A, it's a video where I believe the fan asked, I'm going to take the fan's word for this for the most part, because I could not understand a single word that's in the video. I put headphones on. I've listened very carefully. I cannot hear a single thing, but everybody is saying what it's saying. So I guess in this case, I will accept what the fan is saying, but he basically asked about the cut, and Snyder, I'm paraphrasing because obviously I can't even fucking hear what he's saying. He says it's done and it's up to them. Meaning, I guess, Warner Brothers.
Yeah, from what I was able to gather, I think someone had possibly adjusted it, and I saw it on social media, that he says something to the effect of, it's done, it's all done, it's up to them. And he doesn't mention Warner Brothers or anything like that, and that's just kind of from what I could piece together. It is loud. It is kind of hard to hear.
Now, this is kind of odd, because I asked Snyder, when I got up there, 2 questions. And we did a live thing on this, but it was 1 o'clock. So my explanation of things I don't know how well it came across. So I asked him, hypothetically, if there was another version of Justice League, what is the runtime and how complete are the VFX? He already circled the spot on the poster, as we've shown before, the 214 on the poster. And I looked at him and he said, and then he smiled at me and he said, the VFX, incomplete. There was also another person going around saying that Snyder told him there's like 10 different cuts.
Yeah, and they're all sitting at Snyder's house, apparently.
Either Snyder was very tired and delusional and fucking with everybody, or there's maybe some common sense road we can go down here. As we said, he circled the runtime on the cape, which is 214, which is 3 hours and 34 minutes. Now, that cut seems to be his preferred cut, or he wouldn't be putting that on the poster. Because if you look at the poster, there's also all the runtimes for Batman vs. Superman, Watchmen, and Dawn of the Dead. So it's a theme of the poster to have the runtimes posted. So this is a preferred cut. Now, the cut he's talking about that's done, and I've even said this for a while now, that he's probably got so many different versions, because we've heard so many different things. Wonder Woman cutting Steppenwolf's head off, the League getting wiped out by Darkseid at the end. We've heard so many different variations where Steppenwolf gets killed by Darkseid and they see Darkseid. So we've heard so many different versions, and I've always said that he's probably compromised so many times. There's so many different cuts. But we know whatever this 3 hour and 34 minute version is his preferred cut. Now, when he says it's done, does he mean there's a more friendly theatrical version that might be sitting at Warner Brothers that is more complete than the others? Or is he just talking about the filming, the editing, the sound mixing? Some of the aspects are done. They just need to send it somewhere to get the VFX done, the score. It's up to them. This actually fits perfectly with our Snyder Cut definition that we did, that Jay Oliva's tweet. It fits it almost exactly. Done doesn't always mean completely finished, is what I'm saying. Especially when it comes to movies. There's so many layers to movies. So to believe it's done means 100%, I find to be very naive. There's no way. Not only that, this 3 hour and 34-minute version, there's no way Warner Brothers is going to have him complete all VFX, add a score, all the sound mixing to a 3 hour and 34-minute version of the movie for a theatrical release planned for November 17, 2017. There's no way. They wouldn't even let him do a 3 hour Batman versus Superman. So why in the hell would they let him do a 3 hour and 34-minute version? It just doesn't make sense to me. They're not going to put all this work and effort into that. They're not going to have Junkie XL score a 3 hour and 34-minute version of the movie. It's got to be whittled down to a reasonable theatrical release. So what I'm saying is people don't just keep saying it's 100% done, because we don't know it's 100% done. He told me the VFX were incomplete. What I'm taking that as is that the VFX are incomplete for the 3 hour and 34-minute version that he prefers. Take it with you, Will. I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of people arguing with me about it, meaning it's done, it's done. I don't know what the definition of done is, but whatever. So one thing I want to end on, because I don't know, when I saw all the people show up there on that day for Batman versus Superman, the line was just going forever. So many people, excited people. The atmosphere was just full of electricity. And it reminded me so much of that Ben Fritz Wall Street Journal article where he apparently talked to somebody close to the film, and the person said, "Who are these people who won't stop talking about the magical Snyder Cut that doesn't exist?" Which, by the way, Snyder confirmed it does exist. And I give you those people that want that magical Snyder Cut.
What we do here is go back.
That's amazing is Chris is been an amazing producer on the movie because he said to me, he goes, Zach, Hollywood makes two kinds of movies. They make movies by committee and they make filmmaker movies. And he goes, I'm really not interested in these like movies by committee. They suck. And, he's like, the best movies, my favorite movies are, where you can feel the personality of the director, and it's all about that.
In case I don't see you.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. You're one of very few to make it to the end.
Yes, thank you very much.
Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Comic Movie Marks Podcast and hit the notification bell. All these fucking YouTube channels say this shit, so I'm going to say it now.
Yes, it's perfect. And if you want to hear our full podcast, you can check out our podcast on iTunes or any other podcast subscription service.
Make sure you subscribe. Thanks again.
Yo!